Namaskaram. Today's session is again a very interesting session where I had earlier talked about the beginning prayer for every session. Today I'm going to talk about the ending prayer. And this prayer is my favorite. It is the prayer to the infinite. And I always believe that this universe is infinite. Each one of us there has got infinite energy within us. And therefore, the human beings don't come in packages of like an engine, you don't have a horsepower. So you have infinite capacity. And that is something that has been demonstrated time and again over time, whether it is the field of sports, whether it is in the field of achievements. We keep extending and stretching our benchmarks, and therefore I believe that capacity is infinite, and so is the universe. So what is this prayer? So this famous prayer is called, let us chant it along with me. Let us close our eyes, fold our hands, and say this prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This prayer, if you notice, the word Purnam is there everywhere. In Sanskrit, the word Purnam is infinite. And it says that if you divide infinite by infinite, you get infinite. If you subtract infinite from infinite, again it is infinite. If you add infinite to infinite, it is infinite. So whatever you do with infinite, it will only give you a result of infinite. And that is the secret of this universe. Now the question is, how is it practically applicable? That's what we're going to talk about. So this is a message for all the youth out there and also to the parents that there are two worlds. There are two worlds that we look at. One is the outside world, which I also call it as the material world, and one is the inner world, which I call it the spirituality. So materialism and spirituality. So there are two worlds. What happens is, typically we are always focused on the outside world, and that is how advertising happens, that's how marketing happens, and we are all running behind those material things and we're trying to achieve it. Nothing wrong. Having aspirations to achieve it is how attraction happens, is how desires get created, is how creativity starts coming in. So it is perfectly fine. Now what happens is, the problem here is that when we are focusing only on the material world, we have lost in touch with this infinite spirit that is within us. This infinite spirit is a reflection of the infinite universe, of the energy that has created this universe. The point is, we all think that we are individuals. Yes, we are individuals, but we are also a community. We are also a community of cells. I was watching this beautiful program of Dr. Bruce Lipton. I recommend all of you to go through his YouTube videos or read his book, The Biology of Beliefs, where he's a medical doctor who has actually been a lecturer in medical schools, right from Stanford University, Wisconsin University, and then he finally came onto this astounding research where he has found out that this entire concept of genetic theory is actually not completely true. And he kind of researched on the cell, on this he's a microbiologist who has gone into the cellular level and identified how a belief is the driving force for everything that happens in this body, or how this body is shaped and what happens, how your body gets modified or how it ages or how anything happens. It is driven by this belief of ours. That means we are coming back to the spiritual concept of the Upanishads and the books, the famous book, The Thought Power, which kept saying that thought is powerful. What you think is what you become. So that has been proven by scientific research. That isn't it astounding and amazing to get a scientific experimental research done on this to see how epigenetics is actually controlling. Epigenetics is basically, what he says is, it is not the nucleus that is the brain of the cell, but it is rather the membrane of the cell, which is the brain of the cell. And this membrane is something that is allowing signals to come inside through sensations, through, so it's like a skin of the body which is sensing the outside world, is actually shaping, and the thought that is there within you is shaping what goes in and how it goes in and how it affects your body. Wow. I mean, so it means to say that if I'm able to tune my spirituality to the right harmonious way to the material world, I am connecting the infinite within to the infinite outside. What a beautiful discovery this is. Now, it's a very puzzling topic and it will take a lot of time to explain, go into the details of this. But what is coming out, and with quantum physics coming in, with science coming in, what we are trying to understand is this consciousness that is there within us. When I say consciousness, it's again the creative mind. When it is in the present, when it is in the now, is the conscious mind in action. 95% of the day, 95% of the time, as per the research, we are not conscious of what we are doing. This is the research. 95% of the time. It's like driving a car in autopilot. You're just sitting in the car, you just change the gear and you drive when you're used to driving it. It's a program that is running in autopilot. It's a subconscious mind that is driving you entire day. That only that time when you're very conscious, when you are actually using your creativity, is when you actually are diving into your inner world. Now, doesn't this call for introspection to say, how can we tap in more into this being more conscious so that our creativity improves? And that is going to connect this spirit of ours into the infinite source of energy that is there, so that we can achieve infinite wealth, infinite fame, infinite prosperity, and infinite happiness. Isn't it beautiful? And that's what this prayer is all about. When we are saying this prayer, we are praying to the infinite energy within us and the infinite cosmos and the infinite spirituality that we have to connect and harmonize, so that we are able to become conscious of every moment now and create wonderful results, wonderful possibilities that can take us to any limits, because there is no capacity. There's absolutely no capacity. Now the question is, how do you do it practically? Yeah, it's all sounds good, it's all sounds nice to have, but how do you do it practically? And here is where I'm going to share some tips. So what am I saying is, the first thing we need to do is that we need to understand that within this infinite source of energy, there is an individuality. There is certain programming that has happened within us which makes us what we are as a personality. It is not possible for us to completely change our own personalities. So how do we do it? So what we do is we have to align correctly. 99% of the times what I see around is youngsters just look at the outside world, get attracted, and jump into whatever they find that they can earn a lot of money, or they can get a job, or whatever it is. It's a very wrong approach. The first thing that people need to understand is, do you know yourself? If you align internally to yourself and understand your spirit, understand your program, know what kind of a person you are, and then see how you can leverage on this programming to achieve certain things in the world, with a very positive sense about yourself, saying that, wow, I because self esteem and self estimation of what you can do is the most important aspect of anything that we do in this world. Now, to improve that self esteem, we have to dive deep into ourselves to understand the qualities that are already there and how these qualities can be connected to the infinite. And that's the beauty of the work. When we talk about mentoring, when we talk about sitting and talking to each other, is trying to understand this deep aspect of each individual. What is that programming that lies within you? Why do you behave the way you behave? Why do you talk the way you talk? Why are you the way you are? And have a complete confidence in that particular aspect of yours. I'm not saying that you should not do anything to improve certain aspects. Yes, there are certain weaknesses that need to be improved, but do not focus on them. Rather focus on those qualities which are ingrained into you as a person, and you are naturally inclined to do those things, and that will bring about a very different manifestation into this whole universe. You will be able to manifest things much more easily. You'll be more happier doing what you're doing, and you'll be able to connect into the infinite energies of the universe very beautifully. Now, there are certain mistakes that people make. One is, there is something called a sunk cost fallacy. I have got educated in science, or I have got educated in arts or in commerce, so therefore I should choose only something related to that. The world doesn't work that way. Now, I've done my post graduation in mechanical engineering in management, but I am diving deep into spirituality today, and I am into mentoring, which probably I am not qualified for, because in my young days nobody told me about it. But does it mean that I should not live my life the way I want to live it? Absolutely not. Because when you tap into your inner spirit and you try to align with the outside world, it's an inside out approach and not an outside in approach. And this inside out approach gives you energy, gives you enthusiasm, gives you passion to do something. And that becomes a great driver and motivator for you to actually put your heart and soul into your work. and results are bound to come positive when you start working in this way, because you're in flow. Have you ever seen a dancer on stage, a classical dancer, or a musician playing a particular instrument? Can you see they are just engrossed in what they are doing in that moment? That's called flow. So if you are in flow when you are at work, the result is going to be outstanding. And that's the beauty. That so we are talking about tapping into your infinite source within to connect to the infinite source outside. And that's the power of this prayer, which is trying to increase the probability of harmonization of this inner spirit with the outer material world in a beautiful manner. So I hope this particular episode of talking about infinite energy within us and this connectivity of the spirituality within us to the material world outside is something that will be of interest to all the youth and the parents out there. See you next time. Bye bye.